Welcome to the Mesonet Weather Report. I'm Wes Lee. Spring storms usually bring us some of our heaviest rainfall events of the year. Unfortunately, they often bring with them some severe weather in the form of high winds, hail, or even tornadoes. This chart shows the months of the year when tornadoes are most likely to occur in the U.S., highlighted by the spring months of April, May, and June. This past week, we saw two major storm events in the state. The first one on Saturday brought significant rain to the south and east, but totally missed the northwest and panhandle. With it came severe winds that reached as high as 71 miles per hour in Walters. The second storm on Wednesday brought rains mainly to the northwest, but also across the far southeast, adding to already wet soils. Along with the rain came our first tornado event of the year in Shattuck. Hail and high winds also impacted many areas in the northwest region, damaging crops and rooftops. The 7-day rainfall totals from April 18th range from 0 in the Panhandle to as high as 4.72 inches at Broken Bow. This brings their year-to-date rainfall total to 18.26 inches, or about 3.5 inches above normal for this time of year. Gary will now tell us more about Oklahoma's spring climate conditions.
Thanks, Wes, and good morning, everyone. We're going to try something different for a change, and that's just give all good news. Let's get straight to the new drought monitor map and start us off right. And once again, after a couple of months hiatus, we now have a color-free map on the drought monitor. That means no abnormally dry conditions or drought conditions are in place, and that is certainly great news as we get into the meat of spring. And a quick look at the last 30 days on the Mesonet, the rainfall, that tells the story. We see a good 2 to 4 to even 6 inches across the state, and much of that has come in the last half of the month. If we go to the percent of normal rainfall that we had expected over the last 30 days, we're above normal over much of the state, and that is what has allowed us to get rid of that drought, or at least the abnormally dry conditions that persisted down in southwestern Oklahoma, and also that little bit that had cropped up in southeastern Oklahoma. Now, northern Oklahoma still needs a little bit, but they still are running on reserves that they got over the fall into the winter months. So we're in pretty decent shape as we go into the meat of spring. Speaking of the meat of spring, let's look at the percent of annual precipitation we get for 3-month periods to show what our rainy season is here in the state. The first one is for April, May, June, so if you look at the averages, and this is from 1895 through 2017, that data for precipitation, we get about 35 to 45% of our annual precipitation across western Oklahoma up into northeastern Oklahoma during that April through June period. Again, that's the meat of spring here in the state. Now, as we go into May through July, so we get rid of April and add July, that's when the precipitation gets more important out in the Oklahoma Panhandle and the High Plains region. But again, as we look from that April really through the July period, that's when we get the bulk of rainfall for the state of Oklahoma. So given that we're entering that really meaty part of the rainy season, and we don't have any abnormally dry conditions in place, we should be good. We'll see how the rest of the spring goes, but it's definitely good news, at least starting from this point. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.